What's up, my niggas? Okay, so today I'm reviewing, and not really reviewing, but I'm talking about this book, Destiny of Souls. I thought it was Destiny of the Souls. I don't know, but so I knocked this book out in probably like 3 days because I was at work, and we was able to use headphones because we was working the night shift. So I got the audio book. And I really liked the book, so I went ahead and got the real book just so I could sit around and not read it again. So I'm going to talk about this book because I thought this book was really cool. As you know, I get most of my books recommended from Bashar because those usually just been some of the coolest books that the channel recommends. So I've just been rocking with that for a minute. And I haven't really been disappointed. Now, as you would imagine, this book is all about, the destiny of the soul. Not to be confused with this first book, Journey of the Soul, or whatever. This, that I guess is, I haven't read that book. That I guess is a more simplistic book, and it's very like bare bones maybe. Let me move this light. This thing's brighter than all creation. So, this book, what was I saying? Damn. This book is the second book. The first book, supposedly, he kind of briefs over it in the beginning of this book. He says it was really simplistic. It was just all the stuff that he thought people were ready to hear. This is the book of all the stuff he thought they probably weren't ready to hear. So I thought that was kind of cool. Little brief summary of it. The dude is a hypnotherapist, and he was just, for like years and years, he's just been doing past life regressions on people. And the way he would do it is he will basically do an hour-long visualization with the person, and they'd eventually, he'd take them back through their whole life. He'd be like, what was your favorite color shoes when you were 5? What was your favorite thing to do when you were 3? All this stuff. And then eventually, he'll take them back to the womb, describe the womb, all that stuff. And then they'll go to a past life, and then they'll describe that, and then they'll go to a life in between lives. And that's what this book is mainly about. It's about how people basically, when their souls in the, I guess you would call it the afterlife, but I don't think that's the perfect word for it because it's not an afterlife. It's more like the life between lives, I guess, is a fine way to put it. But the, it talks about how the soul will pick certain aspects, why souls will pick that specific body, why souls will pick those specific themes, how souls, soulmates usually end up coming together and being in a relationship in multiple lives. And sometimes it's for example, a lot of souls who are in a similar soul group or the same soul group, they're just always that might be always been your brother or your sister in the last life, or your cousin in the next life, or your lover in another life, and whatnot, your best friend in a different life, all these things, and you just have a strong connection with them. And I think anybody can kind of relate to meeting somebody and being I know this person, I feel comfortable with this person. This is kind of he's only ever really talking to people who are not, for lack of a better term, graduated from the physical experience, so they tend to look at their soulmate is their soulmate. But I think that a more elevated viewpoint of it is to seeing that everybody is your soulmate, because if they're in your reality, they're part of your oversoul. As far as my understanding at this point in time. And here's an example to kind of back up that, because a lot of the time, when you finish a life, You go and you talk to your guides and your counsel, and you kind of review it, not in like a judgmenting way, but just in a way where like, okay, you could have done this, you did this, we should work on these themes, this is where you still have some growing to do, in that sort of way, in a productive way. And the council is all people who have kind of, they're not part of the physical experience anymore. They've pretty much graduated, for lack of a better term, from the physical experience. So, but the council seemed to like always be really, like, it's been like a reoccurring thing where the council is always very, they hold it in high regard when you're really kind to somebody who's not in your immediate soul group. And I think that's because it enforces how ultimate reality is, where everybody is one, like everybody is part of your soul group, because we're all one soul, and that would be, all of creation. And also, like, just seeing people as souls, like, after I read this book, I was just seeing people as souls, like, and you realize this soul chose this body. Like, they were saying how a lot of young souls, like, souls who are very, like, not that time really exists, but they mean, like, more like souls who haven't incarnated physically much. They'll tend to pick more beautiful bodies. They'll tend to be like really caught up in sensory pleasures, just because it's new to them, and they'll even like act it out in the life before life or life between lives. They'll even act out like sensory pleasures and like experience those like that. Like for me, for instance, I picked a lot of for my body. I was talking to my guides and I found out that I picked a lot of the things I did with my body to avoid being like really conceited. So I just thought that was really interesting how that all works out. Like somebody might pick a shorter body to get over powerlessness. It's like they pick the body to draw specific attention to that theme, so that they're forced to explore it. Because the soul, generally the souls are like super confident in what they're going to be able to do. Like when they pick the body, like, oh yeah, I'm going to pick this body because it'll be the biggest benefit for my soul growth. So like they might pick like I guess it's a proper term, like a disabled body, because it will offer them the most soul growth. But like when you come into the physical experience, of course you forget that, and then you're like, oh, this is so hard, and because you're the ego is like disconnected, it's out of alignment with what the soul wants. But the soul is wanting that experience specifically for its growth, because it has the whole picture in mind. It remembers the previous lives, but the whole point of forgetting though is like, what will I do for the sake of doing it? It's not like what will I do because I intellectually know I'm supposed to do this thing. It's what will I do because doing it is the thing, if that makes sense. I know it probably doesn't, but that's as good as it's gonna get, man. Yeah, like there's sometimes, like for instance, people will pick it's just like a collection of stories. It's beautiful. Like this is a really fun read, and it's like you can kind of relax and read it. But like a lot of time, people will pick, people will choose not to be with somebody, like who's their soulmate, like or who's been like a reoccurring soulmate of theirs in multiple lives. Somebody will choose not to be with them because they feel too dependent on them, so they want to grow past that, so they might choose to be alone because that's what's going to give the soul most like joy. And let's see what else. Like there's one person who I guess their father, like in their physical incarnation, their father had struggled with substance abuse in a few lives. And like they were saying how like when that person was like that, they didn't even really recognize them, and they found out like in the life between lives, they all like met up with everybody in their soul group, and he saw his dad, and he was like, at first he was like, like, you know, tense, but then he was like, oh yeah, like this is okay, I know who this is, and this is, it's all okay, you know. But and I was just helping that soul grow, and that soul was helping me grow in a certain way. And it wasn't necessarily part of the script for that soul to like struggle with substance abuse, but it happened. You know what I mean? It's like, and oh, sometimes like if a soul has like a lot of trauma, like the trauma from the physical experience really, like, it literally can imprint something on the soul, and that's what the need for karma is. It's like, if like for example, this happened in the book where somebody had in one life they had got left by their lover or whatever and they didn't ever forgive him, and then in like the next life, because it was imprinted on the soul, they to balance that out, not as a punishment, but to balance out that soul like imprint kind of not being able to forgive them, they ended up following the theme of leaving a lover so that they knew what it was like, so that the soul was in balance. That's a lot of stuff like that. Like even if you read I think Doris Cannon has a Nostradamus, the Nostradamus channelings, talks with Nostradamus or something like that. You can look it up. But she has this is something that she has talked about also. This is not really anything where it's like only this author is saying it. That's why I feel like, that's why I tend to believe it, because there's been enough books that I've read where the person pretty much talks about the same things, but this one goes into pretty like extensive detail. Oh, like in the council too, like they were saying how the things that, like, there's this one dude, right, he go up in front of the council and he like, listen, I did all this stuff, like I donated all this money to charity, like y'all gotta with me for this, like, and the council is like, all right. But then they like brought up this one instance where the dude had like consoled this woman. She was crying at a bus stop, and the dude just went up and was like, it's gonna be all right, like, you know, in like a really compassionate way. And like the council was like really impressed by this, because like I guess she wasn't in his immediate soul group, and like I don't know, it was really personal too. They care more about personal things for whatever reason. I mean, I guess that makes perfect sense, but it was just really interesting seeing it all, like how it all plays out, why souls pick certain things, why they explore certain themes. You like when like if you pick a life and you had like a hard life, like they go through the Akashic records and like they look at like different ways this could have played out if you pick different decisions and things like that. Oh, also, this is probably the last thing I'm gonna talk about before I cut this video off. But they talk about like how like a loved one or a dead person, like they'll kind of impress thought, they'll like send you thoughts psychically in a way, where like a really talented soul knows where is the most receptive to like send energy to get that person's attention. Like a well-practiced soul, I guess, will send energy like to the back of this person's neck, because they know that that's like the least energy blockages. Because remember, like beliefs culminate physically in the body, like they literally reflect in the body. So they like shoot energy like at the part that's like not blocked off by like negative beliefs or whatever, to get the person's attention. Like somebody will be crying, and then they'll like think, they'll look up because like they get a knowingness sort of from that person sending energy in that way. But like a soul who's not like well versed in that, they'll just shoot energy everywhere, hope that it lands somewhere. And yeah, so you know, it really, some souls are really talented at contacting people. Like they just had a lot of, I don't know if it's experience or just like they were training in the life between lives, sort of like enough to like know what they're doing. But yeah, I thought this book was definitely worth a read. I thought it was really fun. Like it really make you see the body in a different way. Like I know that like we always read stuff like Like the body is not real. It's like a physical reflection. It's temporary, but like to like actually look at people like souls after reading this was so fun. It was nice. So yeah, I give this. I guess I'm gonna start rating books because that's I guess what you're supposed to do when you review them. I'm probably gonna rate them all 10 out of 10 because I only read the good man. But what did they resonate with me? Actually, that's a good way to rate something. How much it resonated with me. I give this 9 out of 10 resonations with my soul. So that's this review. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to do my plugs. Like, comment, thumbs up, and subscribe. Yeah, do that if you're feeling that. And I'm gonna crank some more reviews out even right now, because I got a few more books on my little sticky notes that I should do. I'll catch y'all later. Y'all, have fun.